I met a Hindu meditation teacher from Bali in Malta, super random, through my boss that I was working for at the time. And I saw that they were doing a 10-day sadhana, which is like a 10-day spiritual practice where you just gather and you meditate.
Welcome to the Phase 4 podcast, inspired by Vishen Lakhiani and Ajit Nawalkar, co-founders of EverCoach, a division of Vine Bali. In this podcast, we speak to coaches and creatives about where they were, where they are, and where they are going. This is an intersection of what we focus on expands, and your story is your superpower. My guest today is Rachelle Muschamp. She is an internal family systems coach, compassionate inquiry coach. Today we're going to talk about all of this and much more. And Rachel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, JP. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm definitely grateful. I always kind of begin with just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I was anticipating this question because I'm always like, how deep am I going to go? So my name is Rachelle, and I am for a lack of better word, a trauma-informed coach, which means I studied Compassionate Inquiry under Gabor Mate and studied a few more modalities. I am Dutch natively, so I can be quite direct. Just want to say that up front as well, just so you know. And I have a very different background. So I came from a bit of a troubled childhood, went into drugs. At 18, joined the army, spent 9 years in the army, went on a few tours, left at 27, went into a very long relationship with a person who had just as much childhood trauma in their system as I did. So we had a very interesting 12-year relationship with a lot of highs and lows. During that time, I was a DJ, was a producer, was a chef. I was, running administration at certain things. Like I did everything. And in 2012, we came to Malta, which is a little island near Sicily. And there again, I studied entrepreneurship, did a master's. So I did nothing that had to do with the work that I'm doing right now. But in my life, I always had a lot of anxiety and panic attacks. And I never knew why, because I was always living in the mind, right? And it wasn't until 2018 when I met a meditation teacher, 2017. And I started to meditate. And that's when I realized that I had a lot of stuff going on subconsciously and that I actually really needed to do some self-work while my life was going to head into disaster. That's how I actually felt it. And then I started to do all kinds of therapies. I left my ex. I tried everything, EMDR, normal talking therapy, holotropic breath work, all the holistic things as well. Did a yoga teacher training course, lived in Bali on an ashram. So spirituality was more involved as well. But nothing really got to the essence why I felt inherently broken, because I had panic attacks, I had anxiety, I was hypervigilant. I always felt extremely disconnected and different than everybody else. And then I did a masterclass with Gabor Mate, who was a doctor from Canada, and I was blown away by the effectiveness of the methodology. And so I started to do more of that, and then eventually decided to enroll. And because I decided if I can help myself, because I am so broken, that was my perception, then I can heal the world. That was my thing, So I enrolled to study under Gabor Mate, which I did, finished the mentorship, spent 18 months there, had an internal family systems therapist for 2 years. So that's how I got into internal family systems. And then it just went from there. And that's been now 4 years ago, where I've been nonstop just helping clients who also think they're inherently broken, which nobody is. So that's very quickly, in a nutshell, my story.
Okay, see you guys next week. No, I'm just doing.
Yeah. I never know how deep to go because it's such a, left story, There's not a...
Yeah, no, it's great. This ashram is like, whoa, so many things there. EMDR. Maybe I guess a good place to go here would be, what is internal family systems for someone who doesn't know, and or compassionate inquiry?
So they're quite similar. I find that so compassionate inquiry is a methodology where you will unlayer the hidden belief systems that you have about yourself. So at the core, many of us are walking around with a belief system of I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, I'm not good enough. But it's very subconscious. And then to function in this world with all this belief system, so you have like a really bad feeling about yourself, basically, subconsciously, you create all these protective parts not to feel that pain, right? So you become maybe a people pleaser, or you get anxiety. So these are parts. In compassionate inquiry, you call them parts, and in IFS. And in therapy, we slowly uncover it. So it's partly somatic and partly talking. And so that's for IFS and for compassionate inquiry. So it's talking and then getting someone back into the bodily sensations.
When you do the somatic part, is it breath work or what is that?
No. It's like we're talking like you and me, and then you will, like, I read you and I'm mirroring back what I see. And then at one point I'll ask you, like, what's happening for you right now in your body? And most people can't even sense that at the beginning. But then, so it starts with sensations and then emotions arise. And can you be with the emotion without immediately going into a story?
Right.
Can you just be present with the sadness, So that's very difficult. So parts will pop up. So you might start laughing, to mask how difficult it is. So internal family systems would really stay with the parts and try to be with the parts. That the parts, it sounds maybe a little bit strange if you've never done it, but as if the parts are all younger versions of yourself. You created this in childhood. So,
Right.
and they're not seen. So it's like in therapy, you start to see the parts, why they are there, and then the parts feels seen by you. And then it gets the feeling of being safe, and it doesn't have to work that hard anymore. That's very, very simplified, but that's
Yeah, no, I got it. So there's like inner child work, and then all these things that you said, we make up these beliefs and patterns from when we're a kid.
yes.
I'm not lovable, that's not for me, but there is not necessarily true. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'll give myself as an example because it's maybe easier. My mother and father divorced when I was 7. And so she grabbed us from school and we fled the country because I was born in England and I never saw my father again. And apparently, according to the stories, I was very close to my dad. So from one moment to the next, he's gone. I'm 7 and I have no understanding because a child doesn't understand why and what's going on. Then I arrived in the Netherlands with a fantastic mother, but she had her own traumas because of the divorce and what happened with my father. And so she had moments of having difficulties with her emotions, for instance. And so for children, they don't understand that. And a child needs attachment. The child needs the caregiver. It's like a child really needs a parent or a caregiver present. I just lost one. So I became hypervigilant looking at my mother. Was she happy or not? So I started to suppress my own emotions. If I would sense my mother not being happy, I would suppress my own emotions. It's what children do this.
Because you think it's something you did that made her not happy?
I don't want to, a child doesn't want to add on to the stress of the mother or the father, right? And it's not a conscious choice. It's not like the child is walking around of like, oh my God, I can't. So, but another thing is so if the mother, for instance, then becomes emotionally unstable, the child will never look at the mother and say, you fucking, sorry, excuse my French, but blame the mother. The child will always take it to themselves and blame themselves. And this is when a core belief starts. I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, I'm whatever. So I suppress my emotions and then I become strong. I'm the eldest of 2. I become the strong one, right? Okay. This is what I do. And then I become a people pleaser and then I become manipulative when I grow older. And then I went into the army strong. So that part became bigger and bigger, right? And then I went to a relationship where I also had to be strong. So that it almost became my identity, but it wasn't. There was a protective part created when I was 7 of a child that was just so afraid of losing her mother. You see? And if I'm not strong, the other person will leave me. So that was my story, yeah. And so most of us have this subconsciously, one way or the other.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for being vulnerable because that's not easy just to spit that out. But that's a really good illustration of how kids take on these beliefs that they're not necessarily true. And like without, like you're saying, is the part there is that you're not noticing as a kid that you're doing this. You're just doing it because
Yes.
that's the reaction. And so then it
Yes.
carries you through your whole life. We have this story going on, but it sounds like around 2017, something started to change for the better. So can we
Yeah.
jump from back there into 2017 and figure
Yeah,
I
sure.
know meditation, but yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Well, that was an act of grace, I think. I met a Hindu meditation teacher from Bali in Malta, super random, through my boss that I was working for at the time. And I saw that they were doing a 10-day sadhana, which is like a 10-day spiritual practice where you just gather and you meditate. And at that time, me and my ex were drinking quite a bit of alcohol. Like happens a lot as well. So anyway, so for those 10 days, I didn't drink alcohol. I was a vegetarian and I was meditating and gathering in these groups. And in those 10 days, I felt an anger arising in me that I've never allowed myself to feel, because for me, anger was a very negative feeling. People can't love you when you're angry. That was my, like many people have this as well. So I was very shocked after those 10 days and really realized like, wow, I really need to do something. I don't know what. Thank God I was working with someone who had done a lot of work already and could guide me towards certain things. But at the end of the day, I had to do it myself. But I did decide, I stopped drinking. I left my ex, we remained friends, and I just went fully into meditation and spirituality, which eventually gave me trust in something bigger than me. And that was something essential that was missing from childhood as well. So spirituality is a very, very important thing as well. I stayed in this community for 6 years. And then, like Ram Dass says, all paths are traps. Eventually you need to, let that one go as well. Yes, but you need a method to become to enter the spirituality. But I went in 2019. I went to Bali and I stayed 4 months on the ashram of this meditation teacher. I spent like 5 hours a day meditating. I did a yoga teacher training course, which again was super interesting because I was completely not embodied. Soldier, right? Like,
Did you know it at the time or no?
no, absolutely no idea. No idea. So going onwards, with all these things, it was such a shock. Like even if I would do holotropic breathwork or breathwork sessions, I would see people going out in bliss and I would become almost suicidal, like really dark, because my body wasn't safe. I was always in the mind, in fight, flight. And many people are, way more people than we acknowledge, So what happens with these methods, and even meditation can do this, or yoga, it's like it brings you into your body. But if your body doesn't feel safe, because that's where it stores a lot of your suppressed emotions, they start to arise. And all these protective mechanisms come up, think about the parts again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was every time trying something and then, struggling and then trying something else, struggling, and continuing that. But Bali was an amazing experience. It was
Every
not.
time I hear that word, I'm just like, I want to be there.
No, Bali is beautiful. I've never experienced a country where devotion is so real.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you're first starting, okay, so my spiritual awakening probably happened around 2019, and everything you just said, it happened. Like these emotions are trying to come up, but I didn't know what was happening. So it was a little scary, frustrating, angry, starting to snap on my partner, just like not knowing what's going on, right? Then I found out, oh, this is what's happening. All these stored emotions, because I never looked at them, they're just piling on top of each other and they're trying to come out. And here I am trying to choke them back down instead of the second. It was very cathartic. And the second I released them, then they started going out, and it still happens, but not like that. Like that was just nonstop.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's super overwhelming for people. And many facilitators are not even aware of, how it really works. So I think that's also the beauty of how more and more people are becoming trauma informed, especially in the spaces of breathwork, yoga, yoga nidra.
Right.
Ecstatic dance.
You did that sadhana. Was there a vipassana aspect to it? Like just silent, or no? It's just 10 days meditation.
No, I don't think, in all fairness, JP, that I would have been I think I would have had a psychotic break if I did a silence. My mind is very busy in general still. Like I have to have a serious practice in general to ground me. And back then I was almost manic at times. I drank 8 espressos a day. That was not helping. But I was in a constant fight flight. If I suddenly would have had to sit down and be quiet, that would not. No. This was just a different type of meditation, and just also a lot of chanting mantras in Sanskrit.
Right.
Fire ceremonies, things like that. Yeah. So it was really beautiful. And it's been a big blessing, that experience. Yes. Yeah.
So both you and I, from this conversation so far, we're talking about the inner work, going the inner child work, but just doing the work, facing those emotions. Both of us seem like we didn't know that they were there. And then once they come fast and furious. So a lot of people I notice are afraid to do, not afraid, but they fear the unknown about doing the inner work, and they don't even know what to start, but they do know, hey, something's wrong. And I hear this word trauma, even Gabor Mate, you hear him, he's all over now, getting stronger and stronger. Where would that person start who has no idea what to do, just knows that they don't like the way they're feeling?
That's such a good question, because I think one of the downfalls of how the trauma space is being over-commercialized at the moment is also you get so overwhelmed, like with all these different methods and types and whatever. I feel that one of the things that was very beneficial for me was nature. Okay. We have an extreme disconnect with nature. And so, I did the meditations and whatever with this man from Bali, but obviously you do not need to have a guru or a teacher like that present. The Thich Nhat Hanh, so it's the most effective that I found was the grounding methods. And so that can be in nature, slowing down very slowly and gently with compassion, teaching yourself or allowing yourself to slow down, to hear the birds, to sit at a stream. So it's not immediately about sitting in meditation and even in, there's different types of therapy. If you're ready to go into therapy, there's journaling that you can do. There's a lot of stuff that you can do, but finding the right therapist, that's a very tricky one, I find, because there's so many, right?
Yeah, even the right modality.
Yes. Well, I would say, but I'm biased. I would say Compassionate Inquiry, IFS, and mindfulness with nature, that combination is gold, absolutely gold. And if you have severe trauma in your system, in your body, and then I'm going to say, you probably don't know that, but if you are very disconnected from your body, I wouldn't even do Compassionate Inquiry. I would do the IFS, mindfulness, look at YouTube videos with Thich Nhat Hanh, who does guided meditations, just gentle and like softness. That's really important.
Yeah, there's some interconnectedness. That's a Buddhist thing, interconnectedness. And it's just our connection, not just to each other, to nature, to the entire universe. And the more you can zoom out to the universe like that as a cosmos, then you realize, man, all these things going on in my head are not that they're insignificant, but it's like, yeah, there's a lot more going on and it's organized. And here I am feeling sorry for myself.
Yes. And if you think about it, if you look at the word trauma, what happens basically is a disconnect from self. When you're born as a baby, you're like, when you're sad, you cry. When you're happy, you laugh. When you're angry, you show it, right? It's very connected, authentic with their own inner worlds. But then somewhere something happens often and we disconnect from authentic, of ourselves, our feelings. And so it's all about coming back to the reconnection with self. I don't even like the word healing, because that would say that something's broken, right? So it's all about just reconnecting with self. And so nature can help you do that. The right therapy can help you do that. Spiritual practices can help you do that. Even if you're not spiritually inclined, because for many people that's also a bridge too far, ancestral work, just recognizing I have grandmothers and, light a candle and a lot of that. But it's all about coming back to self. Like, what's happening here? What am I feeling right now? Is it okay to feel this? Okay, like slowly allowing yourself to feel, because the more you can connect with self, the more you can connect with everything else.
Yeah.
You can only connect with other people as far as you connect with yourself.
Wow.
And that's not saying you cannot love another person until you love yourself, because that's, I don't agree with. But you can never connect with someone in the same depth. You have to be able to connect with yourself in that same depth.
Yeah, I totally agree. I
Yeah.
just got off with this group, a chronic pain group, and one lady is in chronic pain all the time. And then today, and so I've known her for like 5 years. And then today she said something that she went line dancing. And I was like, how was your pain while you were doing that? She's like, I didn't feel it. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
wow. So while you're physically in the present moment, enjoying life and feeling it,
Yeah. Yes.
you didn't. And then when you go back into the mind, start
Yes.
thinking, then your pain comes back. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, but the mind is a very dangerous place sometimes, It's a very dangerous place. This is why with grounding exercises, if you can constantly practice, going back to sensations, just being with it, allowing it to move as energy, But it's interesting. I mean, how many times had you had, I don't know, a headache, slight headache, and then you meet someone and you have this beautiful conversation, you completely forgot about your headache, right? Not to dismiss, obviously, someone with chronic pain, but,
Yeah, no, I know exactly. That's exactly right. So the mind. Okay, so you gave us a bit of your story, but so let's say move towards your clients or something like that. Do you have a story of like a transformation or something, some breakthrough that's happened where someone didn't believe or didn't know and didn't even see, or now you can help them, and then through that they become better off?
Well, I'm not gonna tell literal stories, obviously, because of confidentiality. But I've had a few who would come in with, "I have so much anxiety and I don't understand why," right? And then I've had a really happy childhood, so that cannot be it. And then you have like 1 or 2 sessions, and they are capable of going deeper, and suddenly they realize that their needs weren't met in like a very subtle way, and that they're just very hypervigilant, and this is where the anxiety comes from. And often within 2, 3 months, I'm not going to say they never have anxiety anymore, but they are like really grounded in themselves and capable of moving forwards. Or someone who comes in who's like quite suicidal, like more suicidal ideation, right?
Yeah, it happens.
Yes, I mean, I've been there, and then again, doing these sessions, and now and this person is like married and trying for a child and happy, and of course they still have their battles because that's life, right? So I do see a lot of success stories like that. Yes, not just for me, for all of my colleagues who do these, we use these methodologies.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. How about embodied philosophy? I think I saw the words embodied philosophy on your website. Can you talk about that?
you saw this on my website.
Maybe I didn't. It, that's okay. Um, that's okay. So let's see. Let me just make a note to go. Cut.
Oh wait, I know what this is. I know what this is. Embodied Philosophy is a organization in America that, sorry, I had to dive deep. This is way before Bali. It's an organization that has a lot of courses that you can do.
That's awesome.
That's
So
it.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
It's
That
so
sounds like
embodiedphilosophy.com or something. Yeah.
all right.
Yes. So they offer a lot of, that's how it starts. It's very nice that you asked this, JP, because I forgot about this. Before I went to Bali, I subscribed because I was helping people with anxiety. I felt like I have a PhD in anxiety. I'm going to help people with anxiety. And I opened up a Facebook group, and then suddenly I had 250 people in it. And that's when I started to think like, I need to start studying something because this is dangerous, And so I found Embodied Philosophy, and they had a course about trauma and somatics. And that's what I did first. And then at the same time, I read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, which happens to be.
Manual.
Yeah, and that's what kickstarted this journey of like really studying and helping clients. It started with Embodied Philosophy, and then The Body Keeps the Score, and then Gabor Mate. Yeah, good
There you
question.
go. Connect the
What
dots
about
going backwards.
I had to go like Embodied Philosophy. Sounds familiar. It sounds familiar. They have great courses, but more spiritually inclined. If you want to, do courses about Bhagavad Gita or whatever, that's yoga sutras. They have that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So anyone listening to this, there you go. That's the angle for embodied philosophy. And I think that does resonate probably with listeners.
Yes.
Let's talk about your business, your company. I know you have a Facebook group that either just launched or is launching very soon, but can we talk about your work and your business?
So at the moment, I am located in France. So I see my clients online, because when I was in Malta, I was face to face. And I don't have the Facebook group anymore, because that was really specified for anxiety. But back then, I thought that anxiety was like a mental disorder, and now see it as a symptom. So it's a symptom. What we do is with my sister, I did an online support group for mothers, because I got more and more clients coming in who were mothers who just had a child 1 or 2 years ago. And through the birth and through this experience, their own stuff started to come up. And it was very, very difficult because, becoming a mom is also a rite of passage. And then because of this over-commercialization of trauma, they also were petrified. Many mothers are petrified of traumatizing their child. Right? So I recognized that, and I thought I just need to create a group where there are all these mothers hearing each other speak, because mothers need mothers, and so that's what we do. In April, I will start another one. There was a group for loneliness. So I have these projects that I do with different people. Someone from the States with my sister. So at the moment it's just a mother group. Other than that, I have a Facebook. People can just come to the Facebook and book a free discovery call. I always offer a free call because I've done my fair share of therapy, and I find nothing more demotivating than finally choosing a therapist and paying money and then it doesn't click. That's the end, right? So that I have. I'm on social media, but I'm really not a big fan. I was having a whole debate about it today, because do I have to post reels every 2 days explaining what I do or not? I'm not a big fan. So I haven't decided yet. So yeah, it's very simple. You can just find me online and book a session. That's it.
That's huge. So the mothers, it's a little like postpartum depression, right? And so these mothers are needing support. And then once they get it, oh, go ahead.
It's not necessarily postpartum depression. It's just more, so mothers often have something like mummy guilt.
Right.
Or becoming controlling. All these protective parts, remember, that we spoke about, that they had already their whole life, they will become bigger after having a child. And not feeling confident that you are going to be a good mother. Your relationship with your partner changes. So many things change. Your place in society, the expectations that you perceive to get from people. And so many mothers become anxious, and overwhelmed a lot. And so by just putting them together in one room, and I guide it a little bit, but I have to be really honest, JP, the power of the group does it. I don't really have to do much. And that helps them, because hearing other mothers speak about the same problem, no, it's not my child that's crazy, or I am not doing it wrong. That just validates their experience. And validation that's what you learn in therapy. Why is therapy effective? Because I validate your emotions, and then you learn to validate your emotions, right? So that's basically what happens in a mother group. Yeah.
Yeah, groups are powerful for that aspect, where once you see someone else, you're like, oh, I'm not thinking this by myself. Other people are going through the exact same thing.
Yes. I mean, I had it for many years. I was always feeling like I was inherently broken or something wrong with me, anxious, whatever. Really always thinking you're the only one that has that. No one understands you. You're different, the stories again in your mind. And then you find out that there's not much difference between all of us, to be honest,
No, for sure. No. I think something about just seeing someone else go through what you've already gone through, I don't want to say healing either, but it's almost, there's some kind of quality in that where.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. This is also why I am quite open about my story. So I do use self-disclosure after asking permission, obviously. But during discovery call, I will always say, do you want to hear my story? And then I just tell my story, which makes the other person feel like, okay. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
like
really
hardcore.
Yeah, yes. Sure. Yes. Yeah, I've seen it all. You can't shock me at all. No judgment, nothing.
When you're saying about being broken, and a couple of times you said it, it reminds me of this book that might interest you. It's called You Are Enough, and it's by a guy named Panache Desai.
I'm writing down.
Yeah, Desai. And his
Mm-hmm.
first name's Panache. But it's the same idea where like just we're made to feel like something's broken in us and we need help to get better. And it's like
Yeah.
close your eyes and get in touch with yourself is a good starting point. But
Yes, yes. But again, feeling like if I feel like I'm broken, it's not a feeling, it's a perception.
that's beautiful.
So this is a huge part of compassionate inquiry as well, that we start to distinguish between feelings and perceptions. Because again, I am unworthy is a core belief, but then I will look into the world through the lens based on that belief, right? So I will perceive everything that's showing that story. So to distinguish between what is a perception and what is an actual feeling, that's gold. Because a perception is something you can challenge. It's a story, whether it's true or not. So I feel abandoned is a perception or feeling.
A feeling? Perception. I feel abandoned's a perception. It's not necessarily true. You're making
Exactly. Yeah. So how do you feel when you perceive to be abandoned? That's how you work. And then, okay, sad, scared. Okay, so can we be with that feeling? And when you are with that feeling, and you can actually tap into that, you can often drill it back to when you started to feel that feeling, which was when I was 7. That's how it works. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we can add new perceptions like gratitude in to change the perception.
Is gratitude a perception?
Oh no, it's a feeling, but it changes the perception.
I mean, yes, but I also find this a bit tricky because I am all for having gratitude, and I know it's because I was listening to a podcast, completely random, different one, Oprah, with someone talking about a Benedict monk about gratitude, and I'm all for it, and I really believe it. I did the gratitude journaling, everything, but when you're in a really dark state, you just cannot find gratitude. That is so difficult, So yeah, that's a very tricky one. How we communicate to people that they have to have gratitude, like this, just be grateful, name 5 things. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's very, very, to actually feel, to get the state of gratitude. You don't get that at the beginning.
Fake it till you make it.
Oh, well, that's why spirituality is very important in you can find it eventually through nature or eventually through meditation or prayer or journaling. Yeah. Suddenly the sun,
Yeah. As we begin to wind down, if this episode resonates with you, please like, subscribe, share, and reach out to Rachel. I'm going to ask Rachel about what are some of the authors or mentors or people, like you said, Gabor Mate, but what are some books or anything like that help you grow? And
it's a beautiful one because, that changes with every moment in your life when you're going through something, the specific books, right? So I think if anyone wants to read a book that's easy to read and very thin, it's called The Drama of the Gifted Child. I think it's Alice Walker or Alice something. It's a really beautiful book, which can be really eye-opening for people. Okay, so obviously everything from Gabor Mate, Bessel van der Kolk, but I also enjoy books like Braiding Sweetgrass, which is indigenous healing, and how to reconnect with the land. That I was reading that. It was beautiful. Books like The Surrender Experiment, that sort of spiritual books like that. Everything from Carolyn Miss, and everything from, I forgot her name. What's her name? Mirabai Starr. Mirabai Starr has beautiful books as well. But that's more the spiritual. I really enjoyed Irene Tweedy, Llewellyn Vaughan Lee, so Sufism. Yeah. Bhagavad Gita.
yeah, good.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So I ask everyone this question. This is the Phase 4 podcast and Phase 4 in the 6th phase meditation by Vishen Lakhiani. It's about creating your future 3 years from now. So where is Rachel 3 years from today?
Oh my God. If I've learned anything, it's very difficult to plan ahead, where am I 3 years from? I have no idea where I will live because I've been nomading for the last few years. I hope to finish my book. I'm writing a book, so that would be great. I just hope to be in a place of peace, to be honest. Equanimous peace, just helping people. I'm super passionate about this work. So just continuing, keeping to study and to learn, and to always stay keeping responsibility for my own shit, and to always humble down. This is very important for me. Very, very important. So just enjoying life and not taking myself too serious. Also a good one.
You're speaking my language. You have a working title for your book?
No. First I thought it was going to be Why Am I So Lonely? To keep it around the topic loneliness, but it's becoming broader and broader. So no title yet. But I will let you know once I finish in probably in 2048. No,
That's okay. The title would change like 5 times anyway.
probably.
Before I ask my final question, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't, or something you want to cover or talk about?
No, I just think that anyone who's like seeking help, that's already step one. And I think it's really important to also understand that you will never endure more than you can handle.
Because stay that way?
No, it's just that stuff comes up when you're ready to handle it.
Okay. Because I always hear this growing up, like God never gives you more than you can handle.
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily want to put God there, but yeah, you could say that if you're religious. I think it's really important to seek the right people around you when you're on this journey, definitely. But just know you are not broken. No one is broken. Absolutely not. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's the perfect message. My final question is, how can people reach you?
I have a website, rachellemuschamp.com, where you can book a free discovery call. I have an Instagram account and a Facebook that I'm not very active on, but that's it. But through the website, you can just directly contact me. Yeah.
Amazing. Rachel, I'm so grateful for your time today. This was fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it, JP. Thank you.